Well, I tell you what, you got to give them credit to stand up here and with technology, and a lot of you are teachers in the classroom, and things can happen and go south. I think that was pretty brave for our superintendent and our chancellor to get up here and actually try to engage into a classroom. So the next thing I want to do is I want to introduce our keynote speaker. This guy's funny. You're going to like him. He's from Kansas. His name is Kevin Honeycutt. He speaks of experience and the passion and importance of inspirational teaching and learning. And I think you're going to really enjoy this. We're going to, the goal when we put this conference together was to try to create, to challenge your thinking and education across the board. Like I said, going back, and this is going to be a consistent theme throughout the conference, is, that whole P20 collaboration concept. But please welcome Kevin Honeycutt, who's here with us today.
I got intro music. Okay, so I've got the Google Glass on, but before you think I'm trying to show off and be ultra nerdy, what I want to do is show the kids that I work with how it feels to do my job, how scary it is to walk from backstage and your stomach hurts, and I'm just trying to help them understand. So I'm going to stop recording now. He said, there we go, stop. By the way, the big part of Google Glass that I'm finding is that people misunderstand. They think you're recording all the time. And you're not, right? I got kicked out of a Walmart. There's people in there with 2 teeth, and I'm in the parking lot because I have Google Glass, So part of this is the world learning how this works. But what I like is that I can be anywhere in the world, and a classroom can call into me. I'm a node, and I can give them the museum from my eyes. And my wife is a teacher, so her class calls me. So that's an interesting thing to me. Also recording instruction, talking to parents about what I see. A teacher's got to get this stuff in their hands and try it. And that's the fun part. To be perpetually 10 years old, isn't it cool? Like, if you were up here, wouldn't you want to walk over and touch those lights? Those are cool looking, aren't they? Right? So let me tell you who I am and why I'm here talking to you today. I was an art teacher for 13 years. I taught K-12. I taught all the grades. So when we broke into curriculum groups, I met with myself. For 13 years, I was a detached retina in education, no one to talk to. And I love my kids, and I love my job. And I loved art because in my class, I can find 1,000 ways to let you be amazing because I'm flexible, to the point of contortionism. You know what I mean? And that's what I love about technology is that all these new tools are happening, and I can give you a tool and let you be amazing, give you a different tool and let you be amazing. Now, to me, this is a big deal, right? If I can flip you. You ever have a kid sitting in the back of the room and you wish you could bring them to the front? They're quiet, they're not going to cause any trouble, and you want to let them shine, to be amazing. Well, I know where tons of tools are. Who's on Twitter? Raise your hand if you're on Twitter. So follow me on Twitter. I'm at Kevin Honeycutt. I'll drive you crazy. I'm ADHD medicated. This is as good as it's going to get right here, okay? But I talk all the time and I share everything that I can. So I'm going to pop this up on the screen and share a couple of things with you. Does it ever feel like this? Like in education, we're trying to dance inside a straitjacket. We got a million rules, and we're just trying to do the right thing, Want to find the best teacher in any school? Look for the one that's in trouble. Because they do whatever it takes, right? They pick the cell door locks and let learners out. And we have all these new spices. We don't have to make meatloaf anymore. It's exciting, I'm excited by these times. But this is me back in 1966. In Danville, Indiana. Now, I didn't know that my dad was an alcoholic, and I didn't know that I was going to go to school in 20 states, and I didn't know that I wasn't going to be a good student. I didn't know that I was emotionally compromised. I'm just a kid, right? That's me on the left, my brother on the right. For years, I thought my brother was the Antichrist. My brother beat me up every day. One day, he forgot to beat me up. He said, "Have I hit you yet today?" I said, "I don't think so." That's how smart I am. My brother's a preacher now. I can't get even. Shopping for clothes at our trailer meant a visit to this, not the Goodwill store. You need money to go there. We shopped at the Goodwill box. Dad put me in it. Yeah, midnight on a school night, that was school clothes shopping night, he put me inside and I would hand out the bags of clothes as fast as I could. It was a scary thing for a kid. I was always afraid the police would come, and that happened one night in New Oxford, Pennsylvania in 1980. I heard this,
215, Roger 215.
There's a blue GMC pickup parked outside of Alco next to the Goodwill box. Roger that. I'm going to run that plate. Roger that. My dad just takes off. There's nothing lonelier than third gear in a GMC from the inside of the Goodwill box, you know? I'm scared to death. It's an hour and a half before he comes back. Get in. I had to go to school the next day and learn. So you never know where they just came from, you know what I mean? These kids, what they're negotiating, you know? Don't assume things. Don't assume. My wife is a teacher. She teaches K4. She's a K4 teacher, 5 grade levels, right? I rub her feet and keep my mouth shut. My wife has had lice multiple times. Don't tell her I told you, okay? She hates when I talk about it because she hugs them all, even the ones that might have lice, you know? I was almost hugged by a teacher once. This really cute teacher I called Susie Cream Cheese. Susie Cream Cheese. She wore denim and wooden apples. She wore teaching like a handbag, you know, like a lifestyle choice. And she had pictured, I know, all the kids walking behind her in perfect rows like ducklings. I was more of an iguana, you know. She had her arm around this cute little girl, and she felt me over here, and she started to do this, and then she looked and she saw me, and she pulled her arm back. And I knew I wasn't touchable. You think I want anything from you? You know who I like? The janitress. She had lots of keys. I knew she was important. I like the crazy teachers. The 3-fingered shop teacher talking about bandsaw safety, you know? That guy's human, you know? I just want teachers to be human. I don't need you to be perfect. Human. It's okay if you don't know. Help me know. Let's know together, you know? We can do this. This is as big as I could dream. If I won the lottery, I was going to live in a double-wide trailer, twice as wide as a regular trailer. You can walk this far. You're still inside the house. So cool. With skirting, see? The rich people in the trailer park, they have skirting and it matches the house. This means possums don't come up through the sink in the wintertime. My house looked a little different. There's my house, right? Mobile homes aren't mobile once the tires go flat. Unless there's a tornado, then they're mobile again. So my second biggest fear was tornadoes. My first biggest fear was my dad. There he is right there. That's not my dad. That's how I thought about Dad. In 2nd grade, my job, appointed family job, was to hide Dad's guns when he came home drunk. And he knew I knew where they were. And that interrogation went on late. I got to learn phonics tomorrow. So you'll pardon me if I'm a little bit hard to teach. I don't mean to be, okay? I don't mean to be. I'm a little bit compromised, you know? But there were these teachers, these angels, these people that saved my life. This is one of them, Mary Lou Burgoon. This is a para, not even a teacher, a recess attendant, right? Sideburns thicker than my father's, right? She put her arm around me. I stood there in the shadow of her ample bosom, out of the rain. Sorry. Even if I might have lice. When I graduated from college, I went and I found these people. She was retired, sitting on her front porch on living room furniture, because that's how we roll in Ottawa, Kansas, you know. I walked up to her like she was Yoda, you know. Mary Lou Burgoon. You ever have a kid approach you somewhere that was your student before? You're afraid they're going to shoot you or something, you know? I said, Mary Lou Burgoon? Who's asking? I said, Kevin Honeycutt. Who? It hurt a little because I thought it meant something to both of us in 78. I said, Hawthorne Elementary, 1978, you saved my life. You're the only person that was nice to me. She said, shut up. That's just my job. Just my job. This is Dorothy Anderson, secretary, Hawthorne Elementary. She gave me these notes every day. I'm the only kid that got mail every day. This is not technology. This is Oriental trading. I laminated these. She said nice things about me. She predicted I was going to be amazing. She willed me to succeed. These smelled like her, and she smelled good. I kept them in a shoebox under my bed. So when Dad came home at 2 in the morning and was calling me a fag and calling me a loser and telling me I'm never going to be anything, I'd just go to my room and get these. She believed, and I believed her. You are that for somebody. That's what we get to do. I saw her in Safeway when I was getting my freshman stuff. You know when you're a freshman and you're getting your deodorant and your razors, that first bunch of shopping that you do? She was in Safeway in the same town. She said, Kevin Honeycutt. She saw me in the paper, incoming freshman, you know. She said, you're going to college? I said, yeah. She said, I am so proud of you. She said, you eat at my house. You are my son. How do you thank that? How do you say thank you to that? She died about 9 years ago, and I love this woman forever. And I have to talk about her and pay it forward. I want to be this person for someone, you know? In our classes, we have kids, front row kids and back row kids, and there's research on this. Research calls you policymakers. You're doing okay. You kids in the back, they got a name for you too. They call you bystanders. Don't set the room on fire and I won't humiliate you. Do we have a deal? Watch test scores drop off as you walk toward the deep end of the learning pool. We know this. This is called the custodial arrangement of teaching. It was designed to let custodians get brooms between chairs. It was never designed for optimal learning. It's an accident of architecture, but we have new tools. We have laptops. I can give you kids in the back a front row seat with software. Wouldn't I try that? But I get teachers who get nervous. I don't like the laptops, she said. Why? I don't know what the kids in the back are doing. I said, get up. Walk around. Kids pass paper notes. We didn't ban paper, right? I'm sitting in the back row the year my father died. When I was 16, he drowned in a drinking accident at the lake. I was there that night, supposed to be watching him, but I left early because he was being particularly evil, and he drowned that night, and that was my fault. That's how I felt for a very long time. It took me a long time to forgive myself for that. Then I realized I wasn't supposed to be his dad, right? But that doesn't matter. I'm in the back row, surviving. I'm not a problem student. I'm getting my C. Don't bother me. I won't bother you. And I'm hitting my head against the wall. And I hit my head too hard, and I saw a vision of my own future. In my single-wide trailer, without skirting, my kids don't have shoes. And something in me said, no, I choose something different. I don't know how I knew it, but I knew the back row was the wrong place to be. So I walked to the front, and I sat in one of these chairs, and my life changed in this chair. They asked these kids more questions. And it's embarrassing not to know answers. And then I was looking at the smart kids, the ones that knew all the answers. And why are they so smart? And then I realized what they were doing. The next right answer in the lecture is always the next dark black word in the book. Someone should tell you that, really, you know? I tested the theory. Mr. Parker said the action potential has bridged the synapse, gone down the dendrites across the cell body, or soma, down the axon via the myelin sheaths, and to the terminal bulbs. What happens next in the cognitive process? There's the question. I got my finger on the dark black words, and I raise my shaky hand. He calls on me incredulous. Honeycutt? I said, excitatory or inhibitory neurotransmitters are then released into the synapse. He said, Honeycutt. He gave me one of them. It hit me like crack cocaine. You ever be so proud you're goofy for a second? I was like, I just knew some stuff. I wanted to feel that again. I got addicted to that feeling of being smart. Now, in my trailer, you get made fun of if you study. Like, Dad called me Professor Kevin. You know, Professor Kevin, you think you're going to college? Professor Kevin. You didn't even knock down a pick, Professor Kevin. I'm dealing with that. And in your room, you're telling me I'm smart. You're talking me into college. Don't mess with me. Make it real. Don't make me feel like I can. Make it so I can. Some of you know what I mean, you gray-haired people. I bet you've kicked a few butts in your time, with love, right? You ever get that phone call from a kid when they're 30, 35? Hey, Mr. Honeycutt, I just want to apologize for being a jerk in your class. You remember me? I'm Anthony. Yeah, Anthony, I'm still in therapy. Yes, son. What? Well, look, you're the only one that held me accountable. I'm still in prison, but when I get out. Speaking of prison, I've been teaching in juvie, pretrial lockup. It's exactly like staff development. Think about it. A room full of people who don't want to be there, and one of them may shank you. It's the same gig, exactly, right? I'm an art teacher. I got my pencils. I got my paper. The first day I walked in, I hold my badge up. You walk through. Second set. You're in juvie. Orange jumpsuit, stainless steel tables, 3 armed guards with Glocks, and the guard runs over and grabs my box of pencils. Give me those. What's up? You can't bring those in here. They stab each other. I said, oh my gosh. They gave me a box of gummy pencils. You ever draw with an earthworm? Now, here's the gig, right? I got a whole bunch of inmates, and they're looking at me. You know that look. Mm-hmm. Oh, I dare you to come up in here. I told you, just like staff development, right? You ever treat the scariest kid in the room like they're the only one you trust? I love this. It's theater, right? I had this big kid in there, huge kid. He poops bigger than I am, you know? He's scary. Everything in me is saying, run. But I didn't. I said, come here. I said, this is a tough room, man. You got my back? Come again. I said, you got my back? Yeah. He's my disciple now. You know what I mean? He helps me very loud. Shut up! Honeycutt's trying to teach. It's all you, Mr. H. That boy will do anything for me. I can flip him. I can change him in an hour. People say, why don't you give up, man? It's too late for those kids. Work with the younger ones. Bull. A guy sold me a Camaro in 20 minutes. I'm from the trailer park. It wasn't that hard. I can change a kid's life in an hour. I believe it. I believe it if I believe in them. And I got new tools now. So let's pretend you have never done anything amazing, right? You're invisible. And I bring you over to me and say, there's this software I'm trying to learn and I'm old. Can you help me? The best teachers do it that way. Can you help me? Can you learn this and show me how? I got you, Mr. Honeycutt. You stay after school and you learn to use it, right? Next day I say, can you help me again? Can you help me show the class how to use it? Okay. For the first time in your life, you feel smart. Your parents think you're smart. All of a sudden, they want you tested for gifted. You ever see that? You think you might be gifted. He's walking upright. You're welcome, okay? Let's not lose our minds. This lady here, Sandy Martin, is the one that saved my life, changed my life. In 1979, I was in New Oxford, Pennsylvania, and she was a special ed teacher. I wasn't in her class. She directed the school play, and she talked me into being in the play. And we didn't usually do school things at my house. We didn't want anyone to notice us. If SRS ever found out what was going on at my house, I'd be in a foster home again. So I didn't look for notice very often. But she talked me into this. That's what I looked like back then. Look at that collar. It looks like a hang glider, doesn't it? I'm that kid. And I'm in, look at those suspenders, right? Robin Williams, remember? Right? That's from the Goodwill box, by the way. And I was on stage for the first time in my life. And I haven't left it since. And that was all Sandy Martin, seeing me and willing me to be something. She put me on stage. I didn't deserve it. I didn't never deserve it. You try to help kids, they bite you. You know what I mean? They snarl, right? You try to help them, you need Teflon gloves to help them. Help them anyway, you know? Whatever it takes. That's what I think. My kids tend to look like this. I don't know he's not the next Steve Jobs. Maybe he's amazing because he's different. Maybe he's inventive. What is invention? To have an idea no one's thought of? To have an idea no one agrees with? Right? Where does that happen in school? Where is that allowed to happen in school? Right? Are we killing the next Steve Jobs? But think about Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Einstein, Edison. What would their autobiographies say about public education? Why? Why can't we make room for those kinds of minds? I think we got to build those kinds of minds. If you like your country, you know? These are fluffy bunnies drawn by my inmates. Look at them tough bunnies, man. The kid at the top, he said, I'm going to give mine to my mom. He still loves his mom. Isn't that cool? I needed two of me. That's the problem. You ever feel that way? I needed to flip my classroom, right? So I sat down and I recorded 135 10-minute drawing lessons, and I team taught with myself, right? Because it's hard to turn your back on the inmates when you're trying to draw. So I brought myself in on a laptop, and I just start here, and they watch that, and I get to walk around and mentor and talk about gangs and meth and choices. I could never do that if I hadn't liberated myself. Raise your hand if you're flipping your classroom. It's happening all over the world. Put the lecture online, make it the homework, and do something in class. Do something. You don't learn unless you do something. You apply, right? I love this. It's the easiest thing to do with all of these devices. One of my kids drew this in juvie. Is he good? Is he good? How can I help him turn that into a life? That's what I'm looking at. How can I turn that into something? He's got something here. He's got a spark. He's got some talent, right? I get him a Cafe Press account. He uploads his artwork, and now he makes and ships his stuff and sends it all over the world. He's got a storefront for free. You're welcome. Wonder what else we can do. It's exciting times right now. For no money, you can be global. I want to talk to kids about that. How do we get you out there, get you famous? In 1978, my teacher, Mr. Austin, got this computer. Raise your hand if you've ever seen one of these. This is the Digitor, the first practical classroom computer. It's a calculator with feet, right? Most expensive technology at Hawthorne Elementary. And Mr. Austin says, Kevin, come here. Can you help me? That's how they do it. What do you need? Can you field test the Digitor? Test its math. Make sure it's accurate. I can't use it in class unless I know it's accurate. Devious man. He tricked me into doing math on purpose for 2 weeks. He let me take it home. Do you understand Dad will pawn this for smokes? He didn't, because I hid it under the bed because Mr. Austin had my back. And I did multiplication, division, subtraction, addition, and I brought it back to him with my final conclusion paper. Mr. Austin, the Digitor is 98% accurate. I was 2% wrong. I never forgot that he trusted me. He trusted me. He risked his job for me. You know, that was a tool back then, right? I believe empowerment comes from being trusted to attack learning according to your own strengths. Let me do this. Let me do it my way. I'll learn the same stuff. I'll stay after school. Just don't make me do it exactly like everyone else because it doesn't work that way in my brain. Don't make me come through the same keyhole with the other kids. I don't think like them. Are you brave enough to let me be me? That's what I love about these times is we can do that. 1980, New Oxford, junior high. I'm flunking English. I'm flunking everything. Mrs. Haas throws her hands up and says, Kevin, next assignment, son, just be creative. I don't care what you do. I went home and got a Rice Krispies box, cut out the front, made a storyboard, made winders out of a coat hanger, put a flashlight in the back, a Rayovac. I invented PowerPoint in 1980. I'm at the bus stop with my cereal box, and I can't wait to get to school. First day I ever wanted to get to school. I got to her class. All the kids were going, wonk, 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 underwhelming, you know. It was my turn. I said, hit the lights. Turned on my Rayovac, and I started in. And my teacher looked at me from the back of the room like I was a unicorn. It was the first time she'd ever seen me. This me. Creative, on fire, passionate, stayed up till 2 o'clock doing illustrations me. How many more times do you think Mrs. Haas let me be creative that semester? None. That was her one exception. Her lesson plans are laminated. We're killing kids by process of lamination. Want to change education tonight? Want to lead a revolution? Break into every classroom and burn every file cabinet. Purge the legacy code, right? Does that sound scary? I'm going to go to jail one day for suggesting that. You ever see a kid launch? You ever see a kid be amazing just out of the blue, do something that no one expected? I live for these moments, these launch moments. This little girl here struggles in writing, right? So I'm out there looking for what I can do to get her excited, and I find lulu.com, Lulu.com, self-publishing for free. I publish a couple of my school plays here. I tame the tool, and now I understand it, and now I'll do it with the junior high. So I go to her. She's angry all the time. She growls. She snarls. Black fingernails, black attitude, hard to love. But she's a poet, because they usually are. There's a handful of sweaty poems every time I see her. And if you read her poems, they'll break your heart. They're not nasty. They're full of pain. She's had a hard life. I said to her, you're a poet, right? Yeah. Have you been published? No. Would you like to be this afternoon? Maybe. Do you have those in Word? Uh-huh. I said, let's get you published. She stayed after school and published Poems from My Heart, Poetry from My Heart. This is it here, Saving Me, Poetry from My Heart. 10 pages in paperback, which she priced at $24.95. She's gouging me. I said, sweetie, how much should this book cost? It's only 10 pages. I don't know. Can you please look? She marked it down to $5.52, and I bought it online with my credit card, and it came in 3 days. And I took it to the school, and I found her in the hall, and I handed her her book. She launched, left scorch marks on the tile. She became an author in front of my eyes. She took it from my hands with the reverence of a Bible. She opened it slowly and said, I misspelled everything. She cares about spelling. She cares about spelling. She didn't yesterday. What changed in her mind now? She is a what? Published author. Right? She did a revision that night and republished that night, and she's still writing. That's one tool. That's one tool. Lulu's one thing. Don't marry that, right? Date it, don't marry it. I want to take you back one more. Since we can self-publish, our school does its own yearbook. We started doing our own yearbook. We went from spending $30,000 to making $10,000. That's a teacher's salary. In Kansas, it's 2 teacher salaries, right? Just saying. We're in the publishing business if we want to be. And by the way, at Lulu, once you have a book, it can be an ebook, just like that. You have an ebook in the iBook store, right? From Word to ebook. I'm not smart, but my network is brilliant. On Twitter, I have 27,000 minds in my back pocket. Are you connected? That's my unfair advantage. I want kids to have this too. I might jump ahead here. There's a brain researcher named Rodolfo Linus that's like my favorite guy, because if we don't understand brains, how do we teach them? Rodolfo Linus, he wrote this book called The Eye of the Vortex, which I've read and read and read, and I'm still just leasing with an option to buy. It's a pretty tough book. To understand human intelligence, he studied sea squirts, these very simple organisms with a very simple brain, a ganglion, group of neurons holding hands. They have motricity when they're first born. They move through the ocean. They react to sunlight and temperature, and they're looking for the perfect place to plant themselves and become filter feeders. The moment they plant themselves, guess what they do next? They digest their own brain. If you don't move, you don't need a brain. So I wonder, in classrooms, what are kids? Are they filter feeders? What should they be? This is what they should be. And I'm sorry if that's hard. We picked this job, right? It's going to be hard, right? It's a mess. What Rodolfo, I won't go too deep into this, but what Rodolfo talks about is fixed action patterns. Some of you are going to hear this for the first time in your life. Everything you know how to do is an FAP, a fixed action pattern, right? You just launch the FAP and you can do a thing. This is why a human can catch a baseball and a computer can't, even though they're so fast. We launch the FAP and get our hands approximately with it and make a last-minute adjustment, and that's why we can catch a ball. If you play a song on that violin, it's an FAP. If you recite a poem, it's an FAP. We are FAPs. We teach. That's what we do. We get them out, adjust them, put them back. Wow, this is fascinating. Raise your hand if that's remotely interesting to anyone. Yeah, I want to understand this more. So I talked to him. By the way, he Skypes me. This guy talks to me on Skype. I can't believe that most people you reach out to will talk to you if you're just bold enough to reach out and talk to them, right? I might jump out of here and go this way a little bit, through a little bit of this stuff here. This is a book I'm putting it on your reading list, okay? The Coming Jobs War by the president and CEO of the Gallup organization, right? This is about world competition and what's coming right down the barrel of your kids. Your kids are competing with every other person in the world. The best part is they can. The worst part is I'm not sure they know this. I think they're snacking on other people's ideas, but they're not having their own. And we got to change that. I want our kids to be inventors, innovators. I want them to make something with all of this. See, the web and technology prepares a buffet of learning choices for our kids, and they're eating the napkins. You know? We got to do better than that. They're playing on digital playgrounds with no one on recess duty. How many ways can I say it? We've got to help them, and that means we got to do the stuff. We got to understand. Raise your hand if this is true for you. If you lost your laptop or phone, you would lose important data. Raise your hand. Raise your hand if it made you nervous to think about it. What have you done? What have you done? You have outsourced the warehousing of data to a peripheral device. You have created digital limbs. What if I amputate yours? Ever lose your cell phone? You know how that feels? I hate it when kids come to school and the first thing we do is amputate their digital limbs at the door by policy. You crazy people that are doing bring your own device, thank you. They're going to spend the rest of their lives in the future, not our past. Thank you for letting them rehearse now in a safe place. We got to teach them how to use this stuff. I make my own son pay rent on his laptop. In my house, it's called the use lease agreement. Once a week, he has to show me or his mom something we're proud of, or we take away his laptop. He didn't like this. I don't care. I'm not in this to be liked. I'm in this to raise a kid that moves out of my house. Yes. Since we introduced the use lease agreement, he's written 3 novels. What are we asking them to do? These technologies that we have, what are we asking them to do? Assigning for them to do. They're going to do something. Raise your hand if you made a mistake in puberty. Anyone? Anyone? I love Ohio because you claim it. Yes! Can I Google your mistakes? Oh, they're analog. Nice. Your kids are on the record, right? They're telling the world who and how they are every minute. This is important. We got to make parents understand this. You're not just using Edmodo for fun. You're letting them rehearse social media before they go out there and make that big pee in the pool mistake, right? I believe any kid can blow it at any moment. This is why I watch my kid online. I love him. He's brilliant, but could he blow it? Even great kids will do stupid things if no one's watching. Raise your hand if you agree. Even great adults will do stupid things if no one's watching. Raise your hand if you agree. Anthony Weiner. Your name is Weiner. Come on, you know. I expect kids to make the occasional mistake. We got to be there. We got to be there. And all of this messiness has got to be there. So I teach kids, do you have a product? Do you have any product? Kids say, what do you mean? What do you have that belongs to you? Usually it's nothing. Why? Raise your hand if you're a photographer. Okay, now everyone raise your hand. You're all photographers, just most of you suck, but you are photographers. Your phone takes better pictures than the cameras I taught photography with, okay? Take better pictures. Pictures are money on a t-shirt, on a coffee cup. It's the low-hanging fruit in production if you want kids to make something, right? Kids have forgotten how to make. When they were kindergartners, they could, right? Every civilization that I study finds some way to turn its tools into toys. This is an interesting thing that I find. The Native Americans had toy bows and arrows and toy deer and toy teepees. The Greeks had toy versions of their tools. You did this with Fisher-Price. Humans have always done this. Now, though, the difference is toys and tools are one thing. They become one package. And if we only see it as a toy, we're in trouble. I want kids to hunt with this thing. I want them to go out there and make something that they're proud of. Create with this thing. I'm loving the maker movement because it's getting kids to create again and do things again. About 50,000 years ago, one of your ancestors invented this, one of the early peripheral devices. And it's a peripheral device because you throw it through the air and you hunt with it, right? The Clovis point, a spear tip, right? Some clans didn't embrace this. They said things like, we were prelingual at the time. The clans that didn't embrace this, their descendants aren't here. This mattered. Here's my question. What's the Clovis point of now? And are our kids hunting with it or playing with it? And what's our responsibility? I'm going to stop for just a second and let you talk to your shoulder partner one more time. What's the Clovis point of now? Are our kids hunting with it or playing with it? What's our responsibility? Talk about that for a minute. I'll bring you back in a second. I should hear murmuring and a harumph or two. So murmur, murmur. Make some noises. Now, I want this to be an ongoing conversation through the conference, right? It's as if we're pioneers. Think about it. The early pioneers left the safety of the colonies and went west with their kids. And they learned together as a family. And yes, people died in large numbers. But they learned what to eat, what to hunt, and how to live. And it wasn't like the colonies. And people in the colonies can't give you advice. It'll get you killed on the frontier. We're on a digital frontier now. And we need people. We need people with the kids out there, you know? That's what I am. I'm following this maker movement. I'm excited. I make PVC classrooms. I get kids together and we do these kinds of things. Revise blooms. What's at the top of Revise blooms? The word what? Say it. Create. So let's think about in our classrooms, are kids creating? Dang it, they're still sitting there? You gotta make something. And Bloom suggests that the highest level of learning happens when you can make something from what you learned, right? So this is what I'm doing, is going into classrooms and getting kids to make things. I'm in Hong Kong, making our own classrooms and our own learning spaces with PVC and cardboard. This is MacGyver stuff, digital dumpster diving. I'm doing tradigital teaching, tradigital, right? Research, put the iPad down, let's make something. Research, we put it all together into one thing. Mix it up, back and forth. Just last week, on Friday, we made Amelia Earhart's plane with these kids, K4 kids, where they studied Amelia Earhart. The culmination activity was they got to make something, hold something in their hand. When do you think they're going to forget all of that? Never. That's the stuff that you remember from school. How many days have you forgotten? Wonk, 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 wonk. How many days? What do you remember? something exciting happened, right? Something you did that it felt like it was important. So I build lessons like this. I want to let you save the world. We're going to learn math, measurement, space, science, physics, research, collaboration, cooperation. All of that's going to happen in this lesson, right? In this scenario, an asteroid is headed for Earth, 35,000 miles an hour. It's an Earth killer, right? And you got to research and come up with a solution. It's going to hit us in 365 days. You have to talk to no fewer than 2 outside experts that will say your plan has a reasonable chance of working and make a 10-minute video for the UN Secretary General detailing the merits of your plan. Go save the world. And high school kids know this isn't real. But on day 2, one of them always says, crap, this could happen. Yeah, we're the first generation of humans that could have saved itself. And we're not. You know, who's that going to be? I think it could be our kids, I hope. So I built this on my website. If you go to kevinhoneycutt.org and click on the asteroid picture, you'll see a whole lesson plan. I've had kids all over the world do this thing from 5th grade to 3rd grade to high school to college. Sometimes they get an hour to do it, sometimes a week, right? Here's what it looks like. I make recipe cards. By the way, this is an app now, but you can get the recipe card. Social studies, science, math, reading, writing. It's all in there. But teachers get nervous sometimes because they're not sure this belongs in their classroom. This is kind of crazy stuff. Usually I can talk them into doing this after the last round of assessments. That's when you do the dream stuff, you know? Straitjacket comes off after that last round. At least do it then, right? Somewhere in there. This picture up here on the right, I drew this on my iPad. I have an art teacher friend who wasn't using iPads in his class, even though the school's 1-to-1. He said, it's not a creation device, it's a consumption device. I said, what? You think Da Vinci wouldn't have used an iPad? Artists have always grabbed the latest medium. So I sat down and drew that Steve Jobs picture. It took me 2 hours. I videotaped myself doing it so he wouldn't think I cheated, right? I used Art Studio, a $1.99 app on the iPad, and I drew that. It's not great, but it's not terrible. I sent this picture to him. I said, I drew this on my iPad. What do you got? Guess what he uses in class now? Not just iPads, right? But why wouldn't we use the technology of our time, right? So I want to engage kids. I want to hook them. I want to hook them and cook them. Hook them and cook them. I want to make them emotionally involved, right? Make it more than a lesson, right? Make you lean forward. I believe you can do that. So I create lessons designed to do that. I hook you first with a compelling story. This one's about the Antikythera mechanism. The Antikythera mechanism. It's a Greek computer, 30,000 years old, found in a shipwreck. How many of you are a little bit interested in that? The earliest computational device did 23 functions with a turn of a handle. You're never going to find one on dry land. The Greeks recycled their metals, but in a shipwreck, you could. So I'm studying this Antikythera mechanism because I know kids are going to find that interesting. Here's what it looks like. The original steampunk. Cool? And I got a kid who I want to hook, so it's Nathan. I'm talking to Nathan. I'm saying, Nathan, can you design this for me? He's really good at 3D design. He uses Blender software, right? I love all kinds of 3D design software, but Blender is open source and free. I'm into free, right? So I say, can you design this for me? What do you mean? I want a pendant that I can buy. He designs this in Blender, puts a skin on it, and asks me where to put the jump rings. And I show him a site called shapeways.com. At shapeways.com, ShapeWays, shapeways.com, you can get an account for free, upload your design, right? And once you have it in the store, anywhere in the world, someone can buy it and have it shipped to them in 40 different materials. Costs nothing to open the store. Put a price margin on it, you're shipping worldwide. That's exciting to me. Want to teach business? Let kids be a business. Wouldn't that be cool? And you keep your profits. Want an A in my class? Make $1,000 this semester. B, 800. C, 600. Now get busy. I made it and I put it on Facebook. No one bought one. Oh, none of your broke friends bought one. I'm not surprised. Market. They don't know the first thing. Market. Put your link everywhere. Go study where people are talking about this and put your link in front of them. Come on, we can do this. We can do this. This is what it looks like in the store. Want it in gold? How good is the camera? Can it get pretty close? I'm going to hold this up so you can see it. This is in gold. I'm going to hold it real still for you. If you want a necklace copy of the Antikythera mechanism, Nathan is the only person in the world you can get it from that's good. Now guess what we did on the back? Watch. I made him sign it. Why did I make him sign it? It's fine art now. It's worth $40 more per unit. I said only sell 1,000. Why? It's limited edition. We can raise the price $40 more, right? Raise your hand if this is interesting to you. I love 3D printers, but my gosh, why shouldn't we outsource? Why shouldn't we do that? I can print this in glass, stainless steel, right? Pewter, gold, sterling silver. What would it cost back a few years ago to get a startup loan to build a factory that could make things in 40 materials and ship them? What would that loan have looked like? Free now. This keeps me up nights thinking about what can we do with all of this mess, right? Here's what I want next. Now, I want one of these. I want to be able to put art that I make on this. It turns around, it scans it in, straight to Shapeways. I'm manufacturing. I'm shipping. Now you can tell the art teacher, if we make it in clay, we can produce it and we can ship it. Wow, I've been waiting for this for a while. Raise your hand if you'd like to get your hands on one of those. 3D scanner, right? So now you don't have to be MIT scientist in design and software even. You can do it old school and go from old school all the way to shipping. I'm doing this with kids. I talk about these things, but I'm actually doing these programs with kids. Okay. How am I doing on time? 15 minutes? 20? Thank you, guys. ADHD. I'm doing my very best. So I believe in this. I believe kids have to want to do something, right? I had a girl in Oregon say this to me, 5th grader. She said, we'll take your test. We'll do what you say. Please, God, just let it matter. Kind of broke my heart. You ever have a kid say, why do I need to know this? These kids are powerful. They can do amazing things. They can change the world. They can save a village. They can build a school. And they're raising their hand and asking for permission to pee. 16-year-old girl closes Taco Bell, counts the drawer, sets the alarm, trusted by you with your entire livelihood, and she's asking for permission to pee? My God, they can do a lot. So my son was doing a project in school his senior year. Everybody has to do a project like this their senior year at his school, right? It's called a legacy project. You do something for someone else, not just yourself. I love the idea. Most kids, though, they raise money and buy a trophy case or a bench. My son said, Dad, if I'm doing this, I want it to matter. Do you know any schools that need things? I said, are you kidding? I know a school in Nepal where Govinda Prasad Panthi teaches, this guy right here. He has 110 kids and 20 books in the library. He wants a library. Help him. He said, that's my senior project. Now, Govinda walks to an internet cafe after his second job and gets online. It costs a lot. And he Skypes my son at 2 in the morning because of the time difference. And my son starts talking to this man. See, Govinda goes online and he asks for money. Please help my school. Please help my school. How does that sound to Western ears? African prince trying to put his money in your account, right? He says, Govinda, stop begging. Let's just tell your story. So they start a Facebook page and a Twitter account and a PayPal account. He runs it all through a 501c3, my son. They raise $1,000 by Christmas. He wires it to Govinda, who goes into Kathmandu and buys 2 laptops and a year's worth of internet connectivity via cellular device. The kids are on Skype. Then the world can see them. What do you think happened next? The money really started coming in. He wires a big check to Govinda. Govinda goes to Kathmandu and buys all the furniture and all the books and opens the school's first library and names it Ben's Den. And my kid has changed. He wants to save the world. He's going to be poor. He's at KU right now becoming a teacher. He's joining the family business, poverty. As soon as he started this project, he said, Dad, people are going to Google me, and whatever they find about me, they're going to judge the whole project based on my reputation. I said, you think? How do you get kids to think that sooner? See? How do you get, on behalf of those kids, my kid will do anything. On behalf of himself, he's a teenager. Have you ever noticed kids do stupid things sometimes? You ever ask your kid, what were you thinking? Raise your hand if you've ever asked your kid, what were you thinking? What do they say? Yeah, kind of like Scooby-Doo. Kids can haul off. They need digital placeholder behaviors. Something benevolent to do until they're smart enough not to screw up. I believe that. We need Grimm's fairy tales that are digital, right? So I want to assign kids something to do. I was trying to understand why teenagers make bad choices. I went to MIT to the Learning in the Brain conference. There was a session called Why Teens Make Bad Choices. You couldn't have kept me out of that session. I'm in the front row going, do tell. Researchers are talking about this piece of neural real estate behind your forehead called the prefrontal cortex. It's the part of your brain that makes decisions, right? Executive function. Guess what the last thing to develop in a human is? Cute, right? They showed video of asking kids this question: is it a good idea to swim with sharks? Girls at 15 say, in large numbers, no. What do you think the boys say? Could be cool. If you had your friends with you, yeah, more snacks for the sharks. That research shows that girls begin to fully develop the prefrontal cortex around the age of 16, and men marry one. That's kind of a joke and kind of not. I want to show you a couple of things. I'm going to pull this over here and see if you can see. So we have these devices, and I'm out there. Look, I teach art and I teach music. Those are my two things, right? So I'm doing my part to try to get kids to create on these devices. And I started out with the iPhone. As soon as the iPhone came out, I started looking at music apps to see if I could teach music. And the first one I fell in love with was pocket guitar, because it looks like a guitar, and the fretboard is exactly the right size, and chords play. We both lie close together in the still of the night. I'm in town all week, tip your waitress. I've been teaching guitar for 20 years, and most kids quit. They do. You know where they quit? Blisters. Most kids aren't braver than blisters. See, you got to push down even though it hurts. That's hard, right? No blisters here. And these chords work on a real guitar. That's something. To me, that's something. I start looking for other apps that I can create with, and one that I found right away was Harmonica. Guess what it does? Hold on. Don't let just anyone do this to your device. I'm playing my music. I'm creating songs. I'm on iTunes. A lot of my songs, the background instruments, all come from apps. And I'm decided that it's an instrument. You know, iTunes now costs, GarageBand costs how much now? Free, right? How can you not love that price? Free. In GarageBand, you can do amazing things. I want to show you one more that I love called Ocarina. Ocarina. It turns your phone into a woodwind instrument that you can just blow into and play, and there's sheet music online that you can download for free. I love this instrument. Here it is right here. Let's see if I can get it to work. Finger positions. And I'm spent. Just now I was playing for you. I was also broadcasting worldwide. Anyone with this app could have heard me and sent me love. No one ever sends me love. If you ever hear Amazing Grace, it's me. Just one time, okay? Just want to get love one time. So I'm over on the iPad, and I'm putting together little kid bands, right? We have little digital jams. We get together when we make music. We record music. We have a night where other kids get to be rock stars. Now, this is where I need a volunteer from the studio audience. Do I have a music teacher in the room somewhere, a music teacher that's willing to come up here? Can I borrow you? Yeah, give him a round of applause and get him to come up here. Yeah. I think you can just leap up on the front of the stage. Get ready to hold up your lighter apps, everybody. Huh? Now go over there to the iPad. How many times have you played drums on the iPad? Twice. And he's up here anyway. Give him a round of applause one more time. Just play around with that a little bit. I'm going to turn you up because you're legit. Now get me on that bass. Lead me in like this. Keep going. Give it up for my man. Don't go anywhere. You're good. Let's take it up a notch. See how fast you are. My man. Rock. Thank you. I'm here all night. I leave tomorrow morning. I wish I could be here for the whole conference. I want to get together with a bunch of you and start a band called Tweetwood Mac. Because the nerds finally get to rock, right? There's a great guitar that you can go buy for $35 on Amazon, right? It's the Ion All-Star iPad guitar. This is legit. It's not the best thing in the world, but for $35, pop an iPad in it, the fretboard becomes real. All the chords are real. The difference is it's every instrument. If you open up GarageBand, it's a cello, it's drums, it's a piano. Kids are playing guitar piano. It's an amazing new instrument. And they're excited because they're the first ones to do it. And there's a big old concert, and the kids get to be digital rock stars. I think that's awesome. How am I doing on time? Am I out of time? 10 minutes, cool. Let me bring this bad boy in for a landing. When I was by the way, I want us to explore this idea of kids creating. And there are people who are going to say, well, that's not real, right? That's cheating. You ever heard that? Raise your hand if you have a GPS, right? Is that cheating? I love my GPS. It saved my marriage. She doesn't judge me. You miss your turn, she's all cool about it. Recalculating, right? My wife is like, always, why didn't you look at the map? Just get out the map. Stop judging me. I love my GPS. My wife has caught on that I have an unnatural affection for her. She sees this. She says things about my GPS. Well, she thinks she knows everything. She kind of does. Why don't you marry it? I kind of might. That God forgot to give me directional awareness. Stop telling me this, please. And stop judging kids based on what they can't do. We have Dragon Dictation now. Free software, speech to text. Will you let me write with my mouth? So talking is writing with your mouth, if you say it is, right? You ever meet a kid who's a terrible writer but a wonderful talker? Then they are a writer. There's just a breakdown somewhere between here and here. Why couldn't we let them do it this way? Hey, Jacob, take the iPad and just click on Dragon Dictation, go in the other room so it's quiet, and tell that story from yesterday. I'll see you in a minute. He comes back with 3 paragraphs, and he loves his paragraphs. We do a little spell check. We do a little editing. He's got his first essay. I'm doing that. And you might say, well, that's cheating. That's just some cheating is what that is. Is a wheelchair ramp cheating? We've got new tools now, right? We can make things possible for kids. That's exciting to me. And you guys are the ones that are going to go out there and make this possible. Tell your story, by the way. Stop being secret geniuses. Blog about what you do. Talk about what you do, right? Other people are telling everyone who we are, and they're getting it wrong. Tell your story better, right? Who wins if you tell that story well? Kids. I'm brave for kids, right? I think we should be. When I was a little kid, I was running through my house in my diaper, and I had a pair of those things on the right called tweezers. 2 prongs, right? And I saw these things on the wall. 2 holes. I was smart. I knew they went together. I walked up and I plugged in the tweezers. I dead short 110 volts. That explains a lot, doesn't it? My mom saw this from the door, but she couldn't get there fast enough. Moms, you know how it is. You can't always get there fast enough. She saw it, and she ran in and kicked me with love. She's like, no! It's too late. I already did it. When you do that, like a fireball comes out of the wall. My fingers are black, the wall's black, my diaper's full. I didn't think about that for years till I got a little older, a little wiser, and a little boy. He's a Honeycutt. He's going to stick tweezers in the wall. And my job is to be there. Whether I like it or not, I got to be there, right? In my kid's life. I got to protect him. I honor you because that's what you're doing. You're learning how to lead these kids into their future. And I'm excited to be a part of that. Hit me on Twitter. Hit me on Facebook. Guys, I want to talk some more. I got some stuff up here you guys can mess with. I'm going to hang around a little bit after the keynote. Thanks for spending heartbeats listening to me. Thanks, guys and girls.